Reddit, the crawl space date. Hey guys, I'm posting this here because I can't sleep, and honestly, I don't know who else to tell. The police left an hour ago, and they said they can't do anything because technically no physical harm was done. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. If you are a young woman living alone, renting a house in the suburbs, or using dating apps, please just take an hour to listen to my story. Look out for the red flags I ignored. Don't let yourself become the next victim. My name is Maya. I'm 24. Like most people our age, I was just trying to navigate that massive life transition, graduating, moving out, and starting my first corporate job as a junior data analyst in the city. The commute from my old shared apartment was brutal, so I decided to make a big move. I wanted independence. I wanted to prove I could do it alone. I found a rental that felt like a total dream on paper. A classic 1950s American craftsman-style house in a secluded wooded suburb about 45 minutes outside the city. The rent was suspiciously cheap, but I didn't question my luck. The property had a massive backyard surrounded by thick, towering pine trees. The nearest neighbor was about a football field away, completely hidden behind the dense woods. When you stood on the porch at night, you couldn't see a single light from another house. It was just you and the absolute crushing darkness of the forest. At the time, my city girl brain thought, perfect, this is the ultimate privacy. But a house that old comes with architectural quirks. For one, it had a dark, unfinished basement with damp concrete walls and a single incandescent bulb dangling from the ceiling. But a feature that always made me slightly uneasy was the crawl space. In those old American houses, the wooden floors are elevated about 3 feet off the ground to prevent moisture. The only entrance to this dark, narrow void under the entire house was a heavy, rusty iron hatch located in the far, dark corner of my kitchen pantry. For the first few months, everything was completely normal. I'd come home late from the office, order takeout, scroll through TikTok, and, like a comforting habit before bed, I'd put on true crime podcasts to fall asleep. I listened to stories about stalkers and home invasions every night to distress. I thought I knew all the signs. I thought I was hyper-aware. But when danger actually arrived, it didn't look like a monster. It looked like the most perfect, sophisticated man I'd ever met. I decided to download Tinder again, just looking for some casual company. That's when I matched with Julian. Julian was 28, a corporate urban architect. His profile was incredibly clean compared to the usual trap boys on the app. No shirtless gym selfies, just photos of him sketching blueprints in an old library or visiting historical buildings in Europe. He looked intelligent, well-spoken, and safe. We matched instantly. Our first date was at an upscale rooftop lounge downtown. Julian was charming. He wore classic round-rimmed glasses, had a deep, warm voice, and listened intensely to every single word I said. He talked passionately about structural history, about how old buildings hold the secrets of the past. But looking back, the red flags were glaring. I was just too lonely, too blinded by his charm to see them. Red flag number 1, his intense obsession with my living situation. When I mentioned renting an old house in the secluded woods, his eyes lit up. He started asking highly specific questions, masked as polite concern. So you live all by yourself? No roommates? Must be so quiet. Do you have any neighbors close by? Do you have a big dog to protect you? I laughed it off and told him everything. No, just me. No neighbors in sight and no pets because I work too much. Julian took a slow sip of his wine, looked straight into my eyes and whispered, "Wow, you're brave, Maya. A young girl all alone in such an isolated space. Old houses always have so many hidden architectural secrets." Red flag number 2, the impossible coincidence. On our second date, I was complaining about my long commute. Julian smiled and said, "Oh, what a bizarre coincidence. My firm just won a massive bid to renovate an old commercial building. It's actually right in your district, probably just a few minutes drive from your house. I'll be down there doing field surveys all the time starting next week." Think about it. I had only told him the general name of my massive suburban district. I had never given him my street name. How did he know his project was just a few minutes drive from my house? When I asked him about it, he quickly smoothed it over, saying he had memorized the regional zoning maps the night before. I foolishly believed him. Over the next 2 weeks, my sense of safety began to unravel. I started experiencing a series of terrifying coincidences that made me feel like I was being watched. One Thursday night, I had to stay at the office until 11:30 p.m. to fix a data breach. The streets were dead. I ordered an Uber home. The driver was a tall man wearing a baseball cap pulled low, completely silent. Exhausted, I closed my eyes in the back seat. 30 minutes later, the sudden violent bumping of the car woke me up. I looked out the window. We weren't on the highway. The car was speeding down an unlit, unpaved dirt road, deeply surrounded by overgrown bushes and pitch-black forest. No street lights, no other cars. I glanced at the driver's phone on the dashboard. The Uber app wasn't even running a navigation map. It was completely blank. My heart shattered with panic. I clutched my pepper spray in my pocket, kept my voice as steady as possible and yelled, "Excuse me, where are we going? This is the wrong way. Pull over right now." The driver flinched violently, swerving the car and mumbled in a thick, raspy voice, "Oh, sorry lady, GPS lost signal. I thought this was a shortcut." He turned the car around. When he dropped me off, I dashed inside, locked all 3 deadbolts, and collapsed on the floor crying. I immediately texted Julian for comfort, telling him about the creepy Uber driver. He replied within seconds, as if he had been staring at his phone waiting for me. "That's horrific, Maya. You see, you can't trust any strange men these days. The city is full of creeps. I worry about you so much, all alone in that isolated house, hidden behind those thick pine trees. If something happens, nobody would hear you. You need a real man who understands structures to be close and protect you." I froze, staring at my screen. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I distinctly remember telling Julian my house had a big yard with trees. I had never told him it was hidden behind thick pine trees. How did he know the exact species of trees surrounding my property? But my exhausted mind convinced me I was just overreacting. 2 days later, the nightmare followed me to work. It was 8 p.m. on a Saturday, and I went down to the B3 level of my office parking garage to get my car. The concrete labyrinth was completely deserted, the fluorescent lights overhead buzzing unnaturally. As I unlocked my car, I heard footsteps echoing from the shadow of the concrete pillars opposite me. Thud, thud, thud. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. I quickly got into the driver's seat, but before I could close the door, the footsteps suddenly turned into a full sprint, rushing directly towards me. I looked through the gap. A tall male figure in a black hoodie, his face entirely swallowed by the shadow of his hood, was charging at my car. With a burst of pure adrenaline, I slammed the door shut and hit the lock button. A split second later, the figure slammed his hands violently against my driver's side window, right next to my face. Thud! I screamed, started the engine, and slammed on the gas, tearing out of the garage without looking back. When I pulled into my driveway at home, my hands were shaking so violently I couldn't pull the key out of the ignition. Then my phone pinged. A text from Julian. Just drove past downtown and saw your office lights still on. Working late again? Be very careful in those dark, empty parking garages at night. The world is much more dangerous than you think. I sat in my car, clutching my head. Was he everywhere? Was he the one following me? Or was it someone else? I felt like a rat trapped in a glass cage, with someone standing outside enjoying my terror. To put an end to this creeping madness, I made the worst mistake of my life. I invited Julian over for dinner the following Saturday. I told myself that if I saw him in my own environment, acting normal, this irrational paranoia would vanish. A massive storm hit the suburbs that night. The wind howled through the trees, slamming branches against my wooden walls. The backyard was swallowed by total darkness. Julian arrived looking immaculate, carrying a bottle of red wine. But when he stepped through the front door, he didn't hug me. He stood entirely still in the entryway, tilting his head back to examine the ceiling joints. Then looking down at the floorboards, he tapped the heel of his leather shoe against the wood twice. Thud, thud. 1950s oak, Julian said, his voice dripping with professional satisfaction. A house built like this definitely has a massive crawl space underneath to prevent moisture. Where's the hatch entrance, Maya? Oh, it's in the kitchen pantry, I stammered, caught off guard by the question. But it's just a dusty old void. I've never opened it. Julian smiled, his eyes locked onto mine. Is that so? What a waste of a fascinating space. During dinner, I went into the narrow, dimly lit pantry to grab a dessert plate. As I reached into the cabinet, a shadow fell over me. Julian had followed me in. Standing so close behind me, I could feel his cold breath on the back of my neck. I turned around quickly. Julian wasn't looking at me. His eyes were glued to the floor, staring intensely at the heavy, rusty iron hatch in the dark corner of the pantry. His face had completely changed. The warm, intellectual smile was gone. His expression was completely blank, cold, and filled with a disturbing quiet hunger. This hatch, Julian whispered, his voice dropping an octave into a terrifyingly flat tone. Does it lock from the inside? No, it doesn't lock. It's just a heavy iron cover, I stammered, stepping back, my instincts screaming at me to run. Good, he murmured so quietly I barely caught it. Later, around 10 p.m., Julian said he needed to use the restroom, which was located at the end of the long hallway past the kitchen. He was gone for a very long time. 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes passed. I sat alone on the living room couch, the house becoming suffocatingly quiet. The sound of the storm outside seemed to fade, replaced by a tense, heavy silence within the walls. Suddenly, from the direction of the kitchen pantry, I heard a sound. It wasn't Julian's footsteps. It was a faint, distinct metallic friction, the sound of old, rusty iron slowly scraping against wood, followed by a soft thud as something heavy was placed back down. My entire body froze. I stood up, stepping as softly as possible on the wooden floorboards and crept toward the kitchen. But just as I reached the corner, the bathroom door clicked open. Julian walked out, calmly adjusting his cuffs, that perfect warm smile back on his face. "Sorry I took so long, Maya," he said smoothly. "Your vintage plumbing is so fascinating. I got caught up inspecting it." I peeked past his shoulder into the pantry. The iron hatch was closed, but the air in the kitchen carried a distinct, foul odor. It wasn't Julian's expensive cologne. It was the smell of damp, subterranean earth, rotten wood, and a sickeningly sweet metallic stench. Terrified, I faked a massive migraine and asked him to leave. Julian didn't protest. He put on his coat, walked to the front door, and before stepping out into the stormy night, he leaned in and whispered, "Sleep well, Maya. Lock your doors. But remember, you're much closer to everything than you think." He drove away, leaving me entirely alone. I locked all 3 deadbolts, shoved a heavy chair under the front door handle, turned on every single light in the house, and crawled into bed clutching my stun gun. At around 3:15 a.m., the storm passed completely, leaving the woods in a dead, suffocating silence. And then, right underneath my bed, separated from me by only a few inches of wooden floorboards, the sound began. Screech, scratch, thud. It was the unmistakable sound of a human body crawling. Someone was dragging themselves through the dirt of the crawl space, extremely slowly, extremely carefully. Every few seconds their back or a backpack would brush against the wooden joists supporting my bedroom floor, creating a dull, hollow scrape. I was completely paralyzed. I lay there like a corpse, not daring to breathe, trying to rationalize it. "It's just a raccoon, Maya. You're paranoid because of the podcasts." I stayed frozen in that exact position for 4 hours until the first morning light cracked through the blinds. That Sunday morning, to force myself out of the panic, I decided to deep clean the house. I washed the dishes, vacuumed the living room, and finally went to clean the bathroom. I climbed onto a wooden stool to grab a fresh roll of paper towels from a high shelf near the ceiling. As I reached up, my eyes caught something strange inside the metal grate of the air conditioning vent directly above the glass shower. Deep inside the dusty metal slats, there was a tiny, unnatural glint of glass reflecting the morning light. My hands began to shake violently. I grabbed a screwdriver, unscrewed the vent cover, and reached my hand into the cold metal duct. My fingers wrapped around a small hard object, taped down with black electrical tape. I yanked it out. It was a wireless micro spy camera, no bigger than my thumb, equipped with a heavy-duty battery pack. Its wide-angle lens was pointed directly down at the shower. I dropped it, falling off the stool, sobbing in absolute horror. I sprinted into my bedroom, grabbed a baseball bat, and violently smashed the smoke detector mounted directly above my bed. Among the shattered pieces of plastic on the floor, a second device rolled out. Another micro camera. A tiny blue LED light on its side was blinking steadily. He had been filming me sleep, filming me change, watching me for weeks. I dialed 911 with sweat-drenched hands. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later, a young deputy named Davis and a veteran officer named Miller. I showed them the cameras, crying hysterically as I explained everything about Julian, the creepy texts, and the crawling sounds beneath my floorboards. Officer Miller looked grave. He walked into the kitchen pantry, turned on a massive flashlight, and violently yanked open the heavy iron hatch. The moment it opened, the foul stench from the night before flooded the kitchen tenfold. The overwhelming smell of damp rot, stagnant earth, and that metallic sweetness. Miller drew his service weapon and carefully climbed down into the narrow, dark void. 5 minutes passed in absolute silence. I could hear Miller's slow, muffled footsteps moving directly under the kitchen floor. Suddenly, his voice echoed up through the floorboards, sharp and panicked. "Oh Christ! Davis, call for backup and forensics, now!" When Miller climbed back up, his face was completely pale. He was holding a plastic evidence bag containing a small, dirt-covered black notebook. He looked at me, his voice breaking. "Miss Maya, you cannot stay in this house for another second. Pack a bag. We are putting you in a hotel." Later at the station, they told me what they found in that 3-foot-tall space running under my home. It wasn't a temporary hiding spot. Someone had built a literal nest down there. They found a dark sleeping bag, empty water bottles, and piles of food wrappers. Wrappers of food that I realized came directly from my own trash can outside. He had been eating my garbage. But the most sadistic part was the structure. Whoever was down there had used a small hand drill to bore dozens of tiny millimeter-wide holes up through the wooden floorboards. 3 holes were drilled directly under my bed. 2 were drilled right under my dining table. For a solid month, while I slept, ate, and lived my life. A man was lying flat on his back in the pitch black, inches below me, pressing his eye against those tiny holes to watch me. The black notebook was a meticulous stalking log. Every single detail of my life was written down. May 12th, 7:15 a.m. Maya wakes up, goes to shower. She sang a Taylor Swift song today. 8 a.m. Maya leaves for work, wearing a navy blue dress. 6:45 p.m. Maya returns, looks tired, ordered pizza. I ate the crusts she threw in the yard bin. Delicious. And on the very last pages, the handwriting became frantic, written in dark red ink. May 28, she downloaded Tinder again. I created the perfect profile based on what she looks at on her phone. We matched. The plan is flawless. She thinks I'm a sophisticated architect. She is so naive. I'm about to walk through the front door. I won't have to sleep in the dirt much longer. I screamed at the detective. "It's Julian! It's him! You have to arrest him!" Officer Miller sighed, looking at me with deep pity. "We brought Julian in for questioning immediately, Maya, but it's not that simple. Julian had an airtight alibi. On every single night I recorded crawling sounds, and on the night the Uber driver took me into the woods. Julian's phone GPS data, his apartment building security cameras, and multiple workplace witnesses placed him miles away inside his own luxury downtown condo. Furthermore, cyber forensics scanned his devices and found absolutely no digital connection to the spy cameras in my house. They were routed through an untraceable, anonymous VPN loop across 3 different countries. The police had zero physical evidence linking Julian to the crawl space. They had to release him after 24 hours. The official police theory? They believed the person under my house was a transient, a highly professional, elusive stalker who found a broken foundation vent on the outside of the house months before I even moved in. And Julian? They told me he was likely just a slightly creepy guy with an eccentric interest in architecture, and his texts were just massive, unfortunate coincidences magnified by my trauma. They told me to see a therapist for PTSD. I tried to believe them. I tried so hard to think Julian was innocent. Until last week, I was sitting in my new apartment, organizing files on my hard drive. I opened a folder containing the photos I took of the Craftsman house. On the very first day I toured it with the real estate agent, a full month before I moved in, and weeks before I ever downloaded Tinder or met Julian. I opened a picture of the kitchen pantry, focusing on the iron hatch. The photo was taken in the bright afternoon sunlight. I zoomed in on the dark, dusty corner right next to the iron lid, where the dust of the abandoned house hadn't been disturbed for months. Clearly imprinted in the thick grey dust was the sharp, unmistakable outline of a luxury men's dress shoe, the exact, intricate brogue perforation pattern on the leather toe. It was the exact same high-end brand and style of shoe Julian wore to our very first date, and the exact same shoes he wore when he came to my house for dinner. He didn't randomly match with me on Tinder. He didn't happen to work nearby. He was already under my floorboards before I even signed the lease. He sat in the dark, using my Wi-Fi, looking up through the holes in the wood to watch my phone screen, learning exactly what kind of man I craved, and designing a perfect tragic character just so I would let him walk through my front door. He played the police perfectly. He is completely free. Right now, I am living on the 14th floor of a high-security high-rise downtown. It's a fortress of concrete and steel, no basements, no crawl spaces. I am completely safe. I kept telling myself that, until this morning. I walked into my new kitchen to make coffee and I froze, my blood turning to ice. Right there, on the clean black granite floor, was a small, neat circle of white drywall dust. It had fallen directly from the central AC ventilation grate on the ceiling. It looked like someone had carefully unscrewed it from the inside of the ductwork, and right now, as I sit cramped in the corner of my bathroom, whispering these words into a burner phone in the absolute silence of 3:42 a.m., I swear to God, I just heard a sound. It's not coming from outside the window, it's coming from inside the drywall right behind my back. A soft rhythmic scratching, the sound of fingernails slowly scraping against the interior plaster. Scratch, scratch, scratch. And the faint heavy shifting of weight. Right above my ceiling, he's inside the walls. Look up at your air vent. Right now.